Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Rene, and I'm the host of The Collective. Film is a collaborative medium, and at United Studio Collective, we want to highlight artists that we believe in. I'm really interested in the process of creating art, what the artist's headspace was when they created the piece, and the journey from inception to product. On today's episode, I'm really excited to have the pleasure of interviewing Justus Martin. Justus and I have been friends for over a decade, and I've been able to experience his creativity and process in person. His photographs, in my mind, have always been a standard to achieve. The way he tells stories through his images is truly inspiring. I hope that you can enjoy hearing about Justus's process and experiencing his images. This interview was recorded on August 28th, 2025. We'll jump into the questions, and then we'll get a deep dive on some of your photographs. Can you just tell me about how you got into photography?
Yeah. Um, that question would take me all the way back to some of my earliest memories. And so um I remember being a baby and I don't know how old I was, but like I had to have been like a toddler or very young. My parents created a flip book for me, but
Mhm.
it was things that they had like clipped out and just stuff for me to look at. So one of the things in this, essentially photo album with like the sticky page and like laminate that you would like put over was this like computer generated diagram of an SLR lens. And so like in the diagram they like kind of showed all the different elements of it, like what it looks like on beneath the surface, like with the different elements and whatnot. So it was like a diagram.
Mm.
And it's interesting because I still remember seeing that. And my dad worked at a television station and he had a dark room, but I never really got my hands on that too much. But then, like in high school, I was getting ready to go on a trip out of the country, and my dad asked. We were at a resort, kind of on vacation, and it was like just the two of us in this hot tub one night at this resort. And he's like, "Oh, so like, do you want a camera to take or something along those lines?" I'm like, "That sounds cool, but." I don't know anything about cameras. And so he like just sat down and, or, we just there in the hot tub, he explained the process of like how the camera works and the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, and the lens. And I think he even probably got into compression of like bokeh and zooming in and whatnot. But anyway, so like my parents got me this camera. I had just turned 15 and I took this thing and shot, I don't know, maybe 13 rolls of film over the course of the summer in Ethiopia, and I got some good images from it, and some that were like not so great. But
Uh,
film was,
Oh, this was a film camera.
yeah. So I mean, I was a high school kid at that point without a real job, and buying film was not cheap, and it's not nothing's cheap when you don't have that much money. So, anyways, buying and then developing the film um, was kind of a prohibition to shoot a ton. And I found myself always a little disappointed with the quality of the images, like the
Mm.
vibrancy, the sharpness. And I didn't know like really what to take photos of. So I was just never happy with what I was taking.
Mm.
So I didn't do much for several years. And then I picked the camera up when I was in college. In my I guess it was like this January-ish time of my junior year, halfway through my junior year, and it was snowing outside and lightly snowing, and it was, at night in downtown Chicago. So I decided, because I was already moody and sad and depressed over a breakup, that I would just go ahead and take my camera outside and like just wander and take some photos. And I got some really good images that night when I was struggling to remember how the camera operated. And I just realized like the next day after getting it developed, I'm like, okay, like if I am able to make some cool images when I'm struggling to remember how the camera operates, if I practice, maybe I can get some cool stuff, like actually get good.
On a random night in Chicago, you went out and took some photos, which night photography is probably one of the hardest aspects of photographies to photograph. So I think it's really interesting that you kind of went on this like really hard journey and photographed some subjects in the middle of the night, and that was the thing that kind of got you like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a good perception of like finding something that I was interested in shooting and kind of made the big difference. Um, and once I did, it kind of like it spurred this realization of like, okay, I do have some talent and you know, maybe I can get good at this. And I just felt like if I had any sort of ability in something, I should like work at it to improve it and not just stay stagnant.
I want to swap over now, uh, and kind of go do a deep dive into your photographs, learning the process. We just got done learning and hearing about your story of what your process looked like of kind of getting you to this point. And now, we look at your photographs. If we visit your website or look on your social media accounts, we see these beautiful, beautiful images. So this first image that I have here, what is it called? And if it has a name, and can you just kind of walk us through the process?
Well, I'm excited to share this image because like yeah, just going back into, you know, shooting a lot of like the corporate professional side of things, shooting events, really dove into headshots in the last couple years as well. But these are all like things that you're interacting with people and you're telling stories of someone else's story. So I kind of look at some of the photos we'll share today are just what makes you take a photo, like what makes me pick up the camera and take a photo of a certain thing. um,
Mm,
and so I don't know, I was always just struck by the beauty of nature and even going back to me being a kid, I grew up watching a lot of nature shows, National Geographic, and just seeing a lot of like the really great images, which is why like when I say that I was disappointed in the images I was capturing as you know in my teens, that was because like I saw these amazing videos and photos and just what I was getting just didn't match up to it. This image that we're looking at, number one, question that should be asked is what is it?
yeah,
And
that's a great
this is
question.
getting
Yeah, what is it?
yeah. So this is the sunset,
Oh,
and
okay.
um I decided I got bored of shooting sunsets the way that everyone else has shot sunsets. Well, for the most part, there's always outliers. But the way I was shooting sunsets, like trying to be technically precise and shoot at a proper shutter speed to avoid camera shake and shooting on a tripod versus handheld um, and all the things that a proper landscape photographer would do. I got bored of doing that because I felt like that's what everyone was doing, and in today's day and age, yes, images are visual currency of our culture, but
Mm.
you just you see a pretty photo and maybe you'll be kind enough to double tap and like it. Um, but with algorithms these days, everything is like so video focused as well. So, anyways, I kind of just said I want to shoot a sunset, and I'm trying to remember what the inspiration for it was, because another photographer did inspire me. But what I did is I started. So this image that we're looking at, these are, I think if I'm remembering, maybe like 7 images. Um, and so
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not CGI. These are actual photos. I took like I think on this one I had about 7 or 8 images of the sunset and I dragged the camera. And
Mm.
so I captured this blur and then I brought them into Photoshop and I aligned them and had to like mask certain areas, had to um, really kind of get a little like when you're working with 8 layers, you're like, wait, which I'm trying to fix this one area of the photo so it doesn't look like it's overlaid. And that can be a little time uh, intensive. So, anyways, I finished this image today, but I'm like really happy with it. I don't
Oh,
have a title yet, but I'm really
you
thinking about
you
going.
just did this.
Yeah, no, I just shot
Oh my gosh.
these series of images last Sunday, actually. No, oh yeah, like within the last week and a half. Um,
Oh, dude, I didn't.
and
That's insane.
yeah, no, this is brand new, fresh,
I
and
feel so honored.
um,
Thank you. You did.
Oh, well, thanks for this opportunity. Yeah. So it's really cool to like debut something new. Um, but I guess so there's this image, but then I kind of started some other images a few weeks back, but really trying to capture like the sunset in a different sort of way. And so my why behind that is just I got tired of doing the same thing that everyone else was doing, and I figured my goal is I'd really love to get into selling, what's in the category of fine art and something
Mm.
that people will want to put on their walls and have really large in their home, a really beautiful image. And I kind of figured that I've noticed that there's a lot of painters out there, and so many people gravitate toward paintings, I think, when decorating their home
Hmm.
and something that may be even more abstract. So I said, like, can I kind of end up with a painterly effect without relying on AI, without relying on, Photoshop brushes, um, and do something really cool that's unorthodox with shooting the sunset?
Yeah, how did you get that from, the vision that you had in your head to taking those photos and then this final product that you have here, after doing some editing and
I'll
post?
be honest and transparent and say, like, I didn't have this vision in mind
Mm.
when I was shooting. Um, and I know this image is actually really intense. When you're shooting the sky changes. And in fact, like I've gone out a few different times hoping to capture different colors in the sky and different cloud formations that will allow for like different images. And so it's not just like, oh, this is the sunset, but like trying to get something that's like truly unique every time if I can. So how did I end up with this? So I guess my vision for it evolved in the process it developed. And I realized, hey, I like certain areas, but like I'm not getting enough of the colors and the blur. And as I'm shooting on the levee, I'm getting too much of the foreground or the ground, and so that's turning out black. But I really want more. A, I don't want it to look like the ground. I want more sky. But the sun being so low on the horizon, I kind of can't cut the ground entirely out of it. So, um, I could just kind of had the idea of like, well, let me layer a couple of these things together and see what it looks like for space and for balance. And then I brought them all in there and I was like, oh wow, that actually looks really cool. And then I kind of tweaked it and worked it from there. I had one iteration before this um, that I kind of quickly put together a few nights ago, but I was like, it's close, but it's not all the way there. So I took some time to do it this way today. And as you're shooting, I think anytime you're doing something creative, you're exploring, you're learning as you go, and you're experimenting
Absolutely.
of like, okay, what if I do this? Okay, well, I've done that. I'm a little bored doing that. So what if I do it this other way? Like, what if I change it up in this manner? Um, and so it's been like an evolution of stuff because um, it and it's more fun to do it that way.
I just look at this and I don't have any words because it's an absolutely gorgeous uh photograph, and I mean that, yeah, I genuinely mean that. So thanks for
You.
sharing, and it's so cool that this is something fresh off the press. It just got done. So that's pretty cool that we're able to debut it here. Now we're looking at the second image here,
Mm.
which I think for me, this one's a little bit easier to tell. It seems like we're underwater and there are some bubbles. Can you tell us about what the process looked like for this photograph?
This was not the first time I was at this location. So this is a spring in the Gainesville area of Florida. And the first time I was ever there, so this is a really popular spot on holidays and especially in the summer. Um, but the process of this was I had photographed this before with my GoPro
Mm.
and I wanted to do it again with better gear. And so I brought my SLR back in the underwater housing and I shot. Now, the reason I chose this photo is because it's unique. And what's unique about it is the bubbles. And so it's underwater. And so in my mind, It's like, what's going on with the bubbles that are coming out of the ground?
Are
When you're
those natural bubbles or did you?
so they're not natural.
Okay.
I didn't cause them. So at this particular spring, there's a lot of cave divers, and
Hmm.
they'll go in these caverns and whatnot. Um, but all the air that they're exhaling, like somehow finds its way through all the cracks and crevices, and so you can be on the surface. And all these bubbles are just like coming up from the rocks. And so, especially when you catch it backlit, um, it's just can be really magical and incredibly beautiful to watch. Because this water is like, if you're in South Florida, most of the water in the canals that you're accustomed to seeing is all like tannin stained. It's brown, it's dark, it's ugly, it looks dirty. But you get to these freshwater springs, and the clarity is better than a swimming pool in some of them, anyways. And so you have this crystal blue or clear water with these beautiful bubbles, and you can't really see it in the shot, but a lot of times there's sun that's beaming down. And so you're getting these light flares as you're watching it underwater, and it's just mesmerizing and it's really kind of magical. So the process was all right. I wanted to make sure I got the bubbles, but I didn't want to have just everything in focus either. So I was trying to think through my depth of field. How much do I want it to be in focus? Um, and I think I probably shot it horizontally more to avoid. I think if you get the time of day, if you get the water surface level, because it's not super deep right there,
Hmm.
you'd end up with like some weird blown out spots or reflections, and I really wanted it to be about the bubbles. Um, so yeah, that was some of my thought process, and so you free dive down or you hold your breath and you go down, you frame it up and um,
And you
capture the.
shoot. Yeah. And what was your, do you remember the f-stop and your shutter speed about?
Um, no, I can look that up real quick though.
No,
Uh,
that's okay. I'm just curious from the technicals perspective. This looks, I mean, for my eyes, this looks about like
uh,
maybe an F8. I mean, there's such crisp detail in the bubbles. So, you're definitely north of of 250 of a second.
so I pulled up the metadata. I was f 6.3,
Okay.
and that's 1/500th of a second.
1/500th. Okay. Yeah, I was pretty close. That's not too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, right on. Good job.
Yeah, that's it's knowing the story behind this, um, and how you approached it and just what you were thinking, gives me a whole new appreciation for it. And I think that's so cool that those are the bubbles that are coming from the divers and the
Yeah.
caverns. Um, that's really awesome. When did you, is this also a more recent photo or have you had this for quite some time?
No, I actually shot this back in 2019. So,
Okay.
um,
Good.
yeah, it's tough being a landscape or nature photographer. Um, a lot of times you go through all the equipment like just to get my camera underwater. I had about $2,000 in like a underwater housing. So
Mm,
there's a significant cost to like just the equipment needed to capture some particular moments. So then you capture it and you've driven like 5.5 hours away, one way.
yeah.
If you may be camping or staying the night. So you spend all this time and then you do all this different stuff and then you might post it and you maybe get some likes, but it's super hard to find people. At least I've not found the right crowd to try to market this to. So I have a lot of images that are just kind of in the vault of, okay, I want to do something with these like one day. Um, so yeah, they're just kind of just chilling, but brought this guy out today.
Yeah, no, this is a great one and thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, so we will move to the next image here and I feel like we're with the first one. I was like, I have no idea what's going on here, but I like it. Second one, I was like, okay, this I feel like this is pretty straightforward. Then we learned about the bubbles, and that was super interesting. This one, I think you're definitely underwater, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So another underwater housing shot. Um, yeah, tell me what's going on here.
So I let me see if I can just hop over to Lightroom and pull up the data on this one. This one I shot 9 years ago, back in
Okay, wow.
July of 2016.
When you're shooting underwater, do you tend to use a more wide angle lens or a zoom or or a longer focal length?
Good question. So just due to the constraints of the housing, I would love to be able to get different lenses into the housing I have, but it's really made the lens. Now that I think about it, maybe one of the newer lenses I could hook up to it. Um, but the diameter of the port is small enough that the only lens that would really like get in there and fit is my wide angle lens, my wide angle
Hmm.
zoom. It's interesting though because I was in preparation for this interview, I was like looking for images and I'm like looking at stuff and it's cool because like things that were shot back in 2018. And so now I'm looking at them. I'm like, okay, I like this, but I think I would probably shoot it a little differently. And
Hmm.
because I think at that time I hadn't quite put together how your focal length affects the framing, not just like so you can get really wide and get up on a subject, and sometimes that can like be a really cool effect, and then sometimes you
Hmm.
want to like zoom in a little bit more and get a little back, and then so just the focal length that you choose for the framing affects the feel. So I don't recall myself really messing around too much with trying to zoom in a little bit more, which would have been like 35 on that lens.
Sure.
So I think now if I was to go back and shoot some of these things, I would try it maybe a little differently. But for this particular image, I shot it wide and it was metadata says it was the sunset. Um, and again, was really trying to capture the motion of a wave that was passing by.
Mm.
So I intentionally had the camera just below water and was like moving the camera with the wave as it went by, to capture the blur and the motion and some of the color.
Yeah, I think for me when I see this, that raw power and that strength, but you also have the soft uh, magenta, the yellow, and the blues towards the top of the image, and it provides a really beautiful um, photograph. Um, and it reminds me of your first one, where there's some aspects that could possibly be a painting.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I wanted to highlight the journey never stops. We're
True.
always learning, and um, for somebody like yourself, um, I have always looked at your, photographs and have been in awe and like I could never create that. That's super awesome. Like this dude
Awesome.
is doing really great things in the water and most of I feel like a good amount of your photography is in water or some form of nature. And I've always thought that your eyes, you have a very good eye and know when to click the shutter button. Um, and so it's cool to hear that, this process of you growing and, continuing to learn more about your craft and honing that.
Well,
And I think that's something really important for everyone, Um, you're watching this or listening to this, um, and you might be thinking like, how do I do this? Where do I even start? Like, I think the most important thing, and I know that you would definitely agree, like just start.
yeah.
Um, and don't worry about finding your thing. That will come. you know, we look at your story. You were just kind of taking photos. Your dad, what a great opportunity. By the way, your dad gave you the camera, um, and you went to you said Ethiopia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You went there, took some photos, and just keep continued to work on it. So for anyone who, might be looking at this and not really sure where to start, I think the important thing is just go out there and try stuff, and you'll find what you like um, as time goes on.
Yeah.
Um,
I would agree.
yeah. Well, this has been a really awesome opportunity for me. I felt like I learned a lot, and it was just really cool to hear about your process and how you approached taking these photographs. And I think I was most taken back by the fact that some of these are more than 6 years old. The last photograph that we looked at is from, you said, 2018, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 7 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm curious what the rest of your backlog looks like. But that's for another time and not right now, which that's okay. Uh,
But wait, there's more.
yeah, stay tuned for
It doesn't
part two.
stop.
Yeah. So what's going on next for you?
The style of the first image that we looked at with the sunset in the sky. Really try to start expanding that more and try to come up with a series
Yeah.
of images, and that's um, and so instead of just like having a bunch of random things, really try to be more intentional. Like, hey, no, this is a collection of images,
Mm-hmm.
similar style but different. And then I think I will start naming some of those at least. Um, I want to do something that, like, for that first image, I want to tile it something in like the angelic realm. I
Mm.
don't quite know, but I feel like there's something to that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, projects. That's kind of what's going on.
That's cool. Yeah, well, I am always a huge supporter of what's going on in your life, just on a personal level, but also in the creative realm. So, I wish you the best with everything that goes on, and just, yeah, this series with that first image. I'm excited to see how where we're at right now, and if we check back in a couple months, or early next year, where you'll be with that, or if you'll, pivot and do something else. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Justice, for coming and sitting with me and talking. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Evan. It was definitely a lot of fun, and thank you for asking the questions. It was really cool to get a chance to explain not just like, oh, hey, here's something that I think looks good, but explain the why and the process. So thanks for asking those, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope that you got to enjoy this deep dive into the work of Justus Martin. Our next episode will air in June 2026. Until then, take care.